Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk call the roll.
Trustee Weatherford.
Here.
Trustee Ball. No. Trustee Lambert. Here. Trustee Martin. Here. Trustee McManus. Here. Trustee Pierce. Here. Trustee Mitchell.
Here. Approval of the minutes from the village board of June 2nd. I have a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
I'm second.
Is that Mike?
Yep.
Put them on my shoe, but I was there first. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are carried. Public comment. Provide 2-minute opportunity for citizens to voice their opinion to the village board. Village board will not respond as it may come to the meeting law requirements. Wendy Johnson, when I call your name, please come up to the mic and give your name and address, please.
I'm Wendy Johnson. I reside at 825 Watershed Road. Good evening, board. First, I would like to thank the village board for its decision at the last meeting to reject the request for a specially called closed session meeting regarding the Water's Edge property and instead bring the issue into tonight's open forum. Decisions of this importance deserve public discussion and transparency. I would also like to thank the village administrator for the email sent yesterday informing a small group of residents that this topic would be discussed tonight. Without that email, many of us would not have known the issue was on the agenda. Before the board begins its discussion on this matter, I would like to highlight a few concerns regarding the current process. In the administrator's email, he noted that any developmental proposal would require a zoning change. That raises an important question. Why are developmental proposals being solicited and reviewed before the zoning and long-term vision for the property have been established? It would have seemed more logical to first establish the long-term vision and zoning for this parcel based on the character of the surrounding neighborhood, which is almost entirely single-family residential, and particularly after the failure of the recent multi-family condominium development on the same property. Once zoning is established, proposals can then be solicited for vision and zoning. I'm also concerned about what appears to be an unusual sense of urgency surrounding this decision. This is a unique and valuable lakefront property. It is far more important to make this decision right than to get it done quickly. Before moving forward, I believe the village should conduct proper due diligence, including an independent assessment of the property's market value, an evaluation of market demand for the various development.
Turn to Angela.
Angelo Trenadu, 718 Kentwood Drive. Back in 2019, the residents of the area had made their feelings known about the zoning for the Water's Edge property. We had many meetings and the hall was filled with people voicing their concerns. This year I went out and submitted a petition to everybody, or not everybody, as many as I could in the short time I had, just to let them know that this is coming up again. And so I did submit the petitions that I had signed to Todd Willis, and he got them out to all of you so you were aware of it. And one reason I did this is to remind the board of what happened in the past. Some of you, the trustees, were in office at the time, and half of you probably weren't. So I just hope that you take consideration and let the feelings of the past and the present be known before you make a decision. And in the past, we also had meetings were in closed session here just recently, and we never knew what was going on, but everything about Water's Edge, closed session, come out of closed session, and we heard nothing.
Thank you,
That's all I
Angelo.
have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That ends the list. Would anybody else like to address this body? Name and address, please. You gotta say it into the microphone so that it gets recorded.
Michael Leiber, 7700 5 Mile.
Doctor, when you're done, would you mind signing in up here when you're
Yeah,
finished?
I just didn't see it up there.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and this is about the Water's Edge property. So I'm asking the village board to preserve the former O'Brown property as a public park rather than selling it for development. Caledonia has more Lake Michigan shoreline than Oak Creek and Wind Point combined, yet we have almost no meaningful public access to show for it. The O'Brown property is a rare opportunity to create lakefront green space for the entire community. Many families near the site live on small quarter-acre lots and have no safe, walkable park that they can get to. Imagine living on Kentwood or Hialeah or Appaloosa. No parent's going to send their child walking down the streets for over a mile to Crawford Park. Those children are left playing in small yards or in the street. Crawford Park has been a major investment, but concentrating nearly all of our park resources in one showcase park primarily benefits nearby residents, while forcing most families to drive several miles to reach this space. We've already made this mistake at North Park School, a neighborhood of more than 160 acres, lost its only green space to a private party when North Park was sold to, when North Park School was sold. That neighborhood permanently lost its park. We nearly repeated that mistake with O'Brown when we tried to sell it to when we sold it to a developer for $1. Now the village has regained control of property. We've been given a second chance. And once the lake frontage green space is sold and developed, it's gone forever. Condos would benefit a limited number of people. A public park would benefit Caledonia for generations. And please learn from the mistake at North Park, preserve O'Brown, and help create a more pleasant community.
Thank you, Dr. Leiber. Sign in, please, Doc. Anybody else? Seeing no one on, we'll end public comment and move into item 6, continuing business. 6A, F Street, Caledonia LLC, tax increment district number 6, addressing proposed multifamily development on southeast corner of 4 Mile Road, North Green Bay Road, parcel number 104042330001010. The first item of that is Eller's Financial Review Proposal Development Agreement is associated with the. I'm sorry, Elaine. Yes.
Us about
We all can hear you now.
the possibility of moving item 8D to the front of the agenda above item 6. I do think there are a chunk of people here, and there were questions about that particular item and whether we would be having any sort of presentation with respect to the Water's Edge property. And so it might make sense from an agenda standpoint and the number of people that are here to take that item out of order so we could talk for a minute about it before we move to the F Street. I just don't want to keep anybody here longer than necessary. People have busy lives.
Brad, would you like to make that motion to move it?
Yeah, I'll move item 8D to the front of the agenda.
Have a second
Top
on
of the
that?
agenda.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that motion?
I actually am not sure I'm in favor of that, and the only reason being is because it's nice to have a good percentage of our community here, and I think the F Street is a very important addition to this community, and I think whether or not you live on Water's Edge, you are still going to be a part of the community for F Street, and I think that they should hear the presentation. So if we do move it, because I have a feeling I'm going to be outvoted, if we do move it, I encourage you to please stick around and listen to the presentation so that you can hear about another valuable development that is different from Water's Edge, but important to this side of the community. So I will say that. So I'm against it.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor of moving item 8D to the top of the calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Thank you. Move on to item 8D, which is under new business, general presentation, discussion on status of proposals received for the Water's Edge development on parcels located at 5915, 5919, 5945 Erie Street, located within the tax incremental district number 5.
I have something to say about this. I had very much hoped that we would address this in some detail tonight. We will not, because we have been advised by our legal counsel and by the administrator that because of certain of that information was gathered in closed session, we are constrained by those closed session rules. They can explain further, but I am as frustrated as you are, but that's the current status. That discussion is not going to take place tonight. There will be a closed session later, but the public discussion part will not take place. And perhaps Elaine can explain or Todd can explain that. I learned that this morning or last night.
Thank you, Mr. President. That is correct. Upon questions that came up after the last meeting, where there was a request that items be placed and discussed in open session, we did review that, and you're correct in terms of statements that are in the audience. There have been a series of closed sessions that the board has had to review proposals that have come in under direction from the board that contain a variety of information that, for competitive and bargaining reasons related to the individual proposals, it is in the best interest of the village for competitive reasons so that the developers are not plucking ideas from one another, and as the village is vetting the information in those proposals. Those proposals also include proprietary information that is not public information that can be shared. So what we have recommended, and we understand the concerns, the transparency, lack of transparency, allegations that the public has stated. What we've recommended is that we have we finished the review of the information that needs to be gone over with the board, and ask the board to give some direction about how they want to proceed in regards to these proposals. So then the next step would be a public presentation on however they want to proceed based on the information that's being presented in closed session. I can't share that with you either. That's attorney-client privilege, subject also to the closed session confidentiality. But I understand the conundrum. I understand the concerns of the residents and trying to balance that against the confidentiality of the closed session and some of the types of information that's being shared by the developers. But what we want to be able to talk with the board today as well is we want to get some direction from them based on the information that's been presented, figure out what those bumpers are, and look towards a public presentation that addresses the concerns that have been raised by the residents. So I'd ask you not to be mad and angry about that, but to give us a little time to just sort through that with the village board, with the expectation that there is going to be a public presentation coming up, probably at the next meeting is my understanding, based on scheduling with the individual developers. So that's the information that I can share. I also can tell you, though, as a part of the process, that if there are any applications come in, that is a public process with public hearings that you're used to seeing when there are entitlement requests. When I say entitlement requests, I mean applications for rezoning, applications to do things on those property. And Pete can speak probably a little bit more eloquently than I could to that, but I just want you to know it is a public process that has public hearing components. But we do need some direction from the board about how to set the bumpers on that, in light also of some of the statements that you have made now and in the past in terms of what is the vision for the property, because the village is in control of those 3 parcels now. So that is certainly a part of the discussion, part of the discernment that the board is going through as a part of the closed process and reviewing the proposals and the competitive information that's being submitted with those. So I know you have questions.
Did you want to make?
Certainly, I don't know if any of the board members want to say anything else. They are constrained also by what's been shared in closed session, so they can't get into the details, and I know that's where the devil is in the details. So I would ask that you be patient, and I'm not sure if the administrator wants to add anything further. Okay.
Any discussion?
I apologize too to everybody. We're doing this backwards. Everything you said is spot on. And
Right.
we're asking you to be patient while we figure out what's best for you. We're not asking you what's best for you. And it's embarrassing. It's upside down, backwards, you name it. It's embarrassing. We should be able to do better than this.
Ally?
Sorry, I wasn't aware of the thought to move this. So I guess I was taken by surprise too. And where my frustration lies is I understand exactly where our attorney is coming from, and I don't want to, we have businesses that want to invest in this community, and I owe them that respect and appreciation for that. But where I'm frustrated is we're treating different parts of the village differently, and I am sick of it. And I am tired of pushing away good developments or good ideas because we are approaching this in a manner that it's frustrating. So I'm not frustrated with Elaine. I'm not frustrated with Todd. I understand that portion of the process, and I understand that we can't share what we've spoken about in closed session. But Elaine, is there something that we can talk about today to at least cover, to at least have a discussion on between board members? Not about our closed session items, not about the development plan, but about some of our ideas or thoughts on what we've heard from the residents
So that
over
you
the
know
last
how
couple weeks, so that they know that we hear them and that these
Need to
will
be
be
recognized.
discussed.
Holly, I had extensive conversations with Tim Pruitt, Elaine's partner, on this very topic because I'm equally frustrated. I would very much like to be able to speak to you about any part of what we know. And the response that I had was, we cannot for reason, and I'm not faulting Elaine or her partner. I'm just saying that we have constraints that unfortunately are tying our hands. And I agree with Prescott. It's backwards, but we're caught here. So what we have to do is to do the best with the situation that we're in. And this is the situation that we're in.
Trustee Pierce?
I think one of the challenges, as I understand the process, and I'm happy to be corrected, as a board, we're being asked to give direction on which way and who to go with before we've even had discussion in a general sense that goes to the public and transparent what it is that, and again, it's that vision and looking at it and, being locked out legally from talking about it or finding a way. And really, Holly, last time you were the one who wonderfully brought forward how could we have a discussion that would just have some free-flowing thoughts. So it seems like we're backwards, and if we go into closed session and we're giving direction who to
Without
proceed with before we make a public presentation, that's the challenge I see.
But this is where we are. So we have to do the best with it. And we hear you.
Todd? Good evening.
Can you hear me? All right. So the way that it's kind of been laid out, and I guess in conversations with Elaine, this is the best way I can explain it to everybody. Staff was requested to solicit proposals for the site, and staff went out and looked for those proposals. We received those proposals and we brought them before the board and solicited feedback from the village board. Then we brought them back following that feedback that we solicited. And now tonight, what we would be doing is looking at the last piece, basically the financial elements of what each of those proposal looks like. And then with direction from the board, that can decide who and how many they would wish to come and present their proposals to the general public and the village board. And that is ultimately the last step. They're not making any decisions. They're looking at what has been proposed and deciding if all of them meet the criteria to be a presentation to the village and the public and the village board. Otherwise, looking at what do they need in order to get and have those presentations in front of them. That's all.
I think, Elaine, we don't need a further motion, am I right?
I would recommend that you postpone this item to your next regular.
Okay. I reluctantly make a motion to postpone item 8D
Second.
to our next meeting.
I hear a second. We have a motion to lay over to the next meeting from Fran and with Mike seconding. Any discussion on that motion?
What will the presentation and discussion be?
Who said that?
Prescott said it.
That's honestly for the board to decide. What is it that you were going to want?
What do we
presented?
want back?
And from whom?
So do we need to define that now?
You'll define that tonight
Closed session.
in closed session. And then they would come back in 2 weeks and present their proposals.
Presuming that we approve one.
Right.
Can our,
I
can our
think we
closed
can,
session be, or can our next week's meeting or next be more than just what was talked about in closed session? Can we kind of have more of an open flowing discussion on why we thought these were good ideas or why we thought the community would appreciate these ideas, or like more of an open where we can hear people and we can just actually have a discussion about it. So we can get out of this closed session mentality and bring it forward.
If that's what the board wants to do, absolutely. That's why I said we need to have a conversation with you in closed session, in part so you can set the bumpers on that.
Then until the closed session, we don't know what we're deferring to
Right.
next week or next meeting.
right. The problem
It
is
could
once,
be entirely different as written here.
When you come out of the closed session, if you want to do something different, you could so direct by action after the closed session.
but it's very frustrating because what we learn in closed session, I think we are not free to tell the public. Am I correct? It's frustrating to me.
I think in part, there's going to be proprietary information that would not be able to be shared as part of those presentations. And to be honest, some of that is going to be within control of the developer. How much information they feel comfortable sharing in a way that doesn't harm their company too.
So at the end of this closed session, we, as a board, will have some parameters. This you can speak, tell the public, this you cannot. Because that's been my ongoing frustration. It's not ever very clear.
That's my hope, that we can set our roadmap for the next meeting.
So if we're going to go into this closed session, and like we've said, we don't have any long-term vision on this particular piece of property, so it sounds like we're being asked to go into close and make some decisions on moving forward before the vision is in place, and the public doesn't even know what the vision might be.
That might be part of the discussion.
And are we, for Robert's Rules purposes or purposes of an open meeting, allowed to actually have a back and forth conversation with our public? Does that make sense? Because closed session always says, public comment always says we cannot talk because it violates open meeting laws. Can we set it, and can the president allow it where if there is good conversation going back and forth, we can actually answer questions? And
If you notice the item up for discussion and possible direction, action, and you put it on the agenda for discussion, the board can
Among
have back
ourselves.
and forth if you want to
On
with
that topic.
residents.
Okay.
Typically, it's the chair that gets to decide as to whether or not there's public comment on a specific agenda item. I would caution you, though, to say, it's not a public hearing at this point in time, so I would take care with how you handle that, in terms of receiving information. So, but as long as it's noticed up on your agenda, then you have no problem doing that. It's when somebody makes a public comment about an item that's not on your agenda and having back and
Yeah.
forth, that's when you run into a likely violation of the open meetings laws.
So President Weatherston could essentially ask for comment on that topic when we get to that topic, instead of someone just standing up, talking, and then we go to 5 other topics, and then we come back to it. Does that make sense?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so the next meeting, speak on the topic when the topic comes up. Okay.
So I don't think as written, this is what the people here want. I'd like to amend or make a motion to amend. We have
We didn't
not,
vote
we have
yet.
not voted on it yet.
We seconded.
No, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, never mind, you're ahead of us. Yep.
Go ahead.
I would like to amend the motion to simply say, general presentation and public discussion on the Water's Edge development. That's it.
I'll second. I'll second.
But I want to get rid of the status of proposals received part, because that's not what I think the residents want. They want to back up, talk about the whole parcel, the vision.
But I think they would like, would you like to see ideas that have been presented, to see what we're even considering? I think that's okay, because it doesn't mean we're going to go with it.
That doesn't work with what we're being
we-
asked to do.
If we have the ability to talk about proposals, we can talk about proposals. I think we just make it vague and say general presentation and discussion on the Water's Edge development. That's it. And we can add to that, but we're not bound to status of proposals if we put it in the motion.
I'll
And
second that.
that's fine. We can do that, and it can include status of proposals, but
Doesn't have to.
including without limitation status of proposals.
Right.
Right, so are you making that motion?
I am
I'll
making that
second it.
motion.
And I'm
I second it.
seconding it.
For a tie,
No, I seconded it.
you win.
Madam Clerk, can you please read back what you have as the motion for
I
the
was just gonna
amendment
ask
so
the
that
same
we're
thing.
clear?
I don't think the motion and the amendment are much different.
They are very different.
It takes out the status, it takes out the limitation of status of proposals.
Okay, I got you.
General
have-
presentation and discussion on the Water's Edge development on parcels blah, 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 located within tax incremental district number 5. It takes out the on status of proposals received.
I'd probably add including without limitation status, but I don't
Elaine, that's a different motion, not an amendment.
It's an amendment because you didn't vote on the first motion.
We didn't vote on the first one, though.
Right. It is an amendment. It's an amendment to change the language of the
Okay.
agenda item that's being postponed to the next.
Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying. All right, any further discussion? All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 Opposed? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? My magnetic personality, I think. So that carries, thank you. We'll move back to 6A. Okay, F Street LLC, a tax incremental district number 6, addressing proposed multifamily development in southeastern corner of 4 Mile Road, North Greenville Road, parcel number 104042330001010. The first part of this is Eller's development agreement associated with the TID increment and a presentation by F Street Caledonia LLC on proposal development. Should we turn the floor over to Nick?
Who's gonna do it?
Nick, do you guys have did you want to address us?
That
Thank
was
you,
number
sir.
2.
Is this something new?
on one second, Nick. Todd, are you good, or did you have something you wanted to add? Did you have something you wanted to add first? All right, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Ellers is number 1 on the agenda.
It is, but I think it makes more sense to the people sitting here if you go
I
first.
agree.
I don't think it matters, Nick.
And then Jennifer, can you share it? Or- Perfect.
Wow, charge yourself up.
Yeah, Tony, that was it. Perfect. Again, thank you to the board and the community again for having us back. Really excited just to talk about briefly where we're at, where the project's at, timing, go over the projects, who we are, as I know we are trying to finalize the discussions to move it forward because we're really excited about it. Very similar to what we did almost exactly a year ago, just talking about the project itself. Want to go to the next page. F Street, who we are, those are me and my 2 partners. We're based out of Milwaukee. Our focus is public-private partnerships, going into communities, providing projects that fit communities, and we feel go great into communities to further creating value for a win-win for us and them. Again, kind of going back to our mission there specifically, our team, based in downtown Milwaukee here, going on to the next one, kind of talking about just some of the projects we've done in the local area in the past. We have 12 communities here locally in southeast Wisconsin. A lot of them, again, we look at doing unique projects that fit with each community specifically. So going over, for example, in Brown Deer, we've done 2 phases of projects where we've done 2 different styles of units. One was a 3-story building, one were 2-story buildings, really just to fit in with the neighborhood for them, creating a town square, demolishing old lighted office buildings. Oak Creek, we have been planning and working hand in hand with the city for the last almost 5 years now on the redevelopment of the DuPont site at Lakeshore Commons. Similar in West Dallas, we took over from a prior developer who wasn't able to move it forward, taking down an old church and rectory and being able to finance that and create a really unique solution that could move that project forward. So those are the few examples of what we look at and, again, what our focus is and what brought us to Caledonia. I'm going to go to the next one, is partner with the community to provide high-quality housing that fits the community. And how we came up with the design originally and what we've been working with for the last 2 years is what fits that area of 4 Mile, what fits the Caledonia community. Again, for us, it's this 2-story garden style where we're blending the neighborhood with, great high-quality housing. On the next one. So again, why Caledonia? We've talked about this. I know our CDC has talked about this before as well. Is why Caledonia? Why this project? Why us? And very specifically, we've talked about Caledonia being a single-family home community. High income home sales are typically in that $350 to $600 range, which today would mean that's a mortgage rate with your taxes and insurance starting at $2,500 and going up to $5,000 plus. So when you have a lot of single-family homes and there's not as many new great quality apartments, as we've talked about, haven't had any great new apartments delivered in almost 30 years, we feel it's a great missing piece for the community to continue to build on it. So going to the next one. Very specifically, the project again, 130 units across 5 buildings. Again, that 2-story, again, really blending, going from 1 story into the neighborhood, 2 stories up. 200 service stalls. About 60 of the units have their own garage. Every unit walks out onto a green space, really large green space in the center and throughout, along with amenity building. We really believe, and especially in the Caledonia community, having these activated green spaces for residents and for people to live, walk, play, even walk to the village center. Go to the next one, Tony. Just talking about timeline, kind of obviously going through where we're at today, assuming move forward, we've moved finalized plans with starting construction now, based on pushing things back a little bit, starting in September, with the first building delivering in May of 2027, and the project being fully completed at the end of 2027. So again, the nice part about this type of project is with the 5 buildings, including the amenity building, Each one gets delivered, and about 4 to 6 weeks later, the next building gets delivered, so people can start to move in, call it the good leasing season of May, when a lot of people are moving in April, May, June, and delivering throughout the rest of the year. And then kind of going over the unit rents, as I talked about earlier, maybe homeownership isn't necessarily achievable across the board, and this creates a different place for people to really live and enjoy in Caledonia, but in great high quality new housing. So units would start around 1,300 and go up to, so those townhome units would go around 2,500. Really just a breakdown of the type of units, the unit breakdown, fitting different families, different individuals, and different people that are looking to have great new housing. Talking about our project team, so I mentioned F Street. We're working with Horizon Construction. Pinnacle Engineering is our engineering firm. Kaylor Slater is the architect, and we work with Harmonic Residential as our property manager. Because here, again, this property would have 3 full-time staff, 2 people working on the leasing and the property management, and 1 person doing maintenance full-time as well. Again, I talked about this earlier. We truly look at everything as a partnership. When we come into a community, we really focus on partnering with that community and being a partner to develop and create win-wins for the community. Because again, we feel there's a good need in the community. We're going to the next one. Again, I talked about these earlier. These are recent public-private partnerships we've had with other local communities. Similar situation I talked about where we were taking down buildings. Next one. Again, I've talked about, really for us, this is a win-win. We always do a pay-go TIF on these situations where we, the developer, are taking 100% of the risk. We have to develop the project, provide it to the community, put it on the tax roll, providing zero exposure to the village itself, and creating a long-term investment in the community. Again, creating a win-win, putting that value into it, creating those improvements to 4 Mile Road, and again, creating very high-quality housing in the community. That's why I leave it open to questions, anything specific about the presentation, questions for me, questions about F Street, anything else very specific.
Nancy, did you have something?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Anybody else?
No, this is the same presentation we had here.
Pretty much, yeah. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming back. Okay, Ellers. Wanted to talk about the TID and the increment. Did you,
Harry's there in the back.
he's in the back.
Yeah.
You want to join us? Oh, sorry.
Oh. He's here for moral support.
So, Mr. President, we have Keith Dahl from Ellers. He's out at the Minnesota office, so he's attending remote today. And I think that Pete is going to have a microphone, but we put him up so you could see him in case he wants to share anything as a part of the Ellers presentation. And then you'll be able to hear through Pete's microphone, Keith tell us about the project.
1, 2, 3.
Try again, Keith. Can everybody hear me? All right.
Keith, bear with us as we're trying to get you on our PA.
And is this closed session or is this open session at the moment?
This is open.
Okay.
All right, try another time, Keith.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, they say they can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Keith Dahl, Municipal Advisor at Ellers. Happy to be here virtually. My colleague Harry is in person there. Should there be any other questions that need to arise with him there. But I just wanted to give a high-level overview of pro forma analysis when developers in the private sector request public assistance from any municipality. We want to do our due diligence. We want to do our own underwriting to make sure that we're not unduly enriching any business or developer when it comes to the financial assistance incentive that we're ultimately providing. To do that, we ultimately conduct a pro forma analysis where the developer or the business shares their financials so that we can accurately project what revenue is going to look like, what operating expenses are going to look like, specifically with F Street. They did share their development financials, their sources and uses. They shared their operating pro forma, the rents that they anticipate to receive on the project, what their operating expenses would look like at stabilization, and they shared with us their 10, 15-year cash flow document. So we can specifically hone in on their return on investment. That's the key here with why F Street is requesting public assistance, because without some level of public assistance here, this project wouldn't necessarily be financially feasible to attract the necessary equity to make the capital stack work to pay for all the construction costs. When we do a pro forma analysis, we do look at the return on investment, and we want to make sure that that is in line with what other projects are requesting and receiving for public assistance, not only in Wisconsin, but we're also looking at levels of public assistance that are being provided in Minnesota as well. With their development budget and their sources and uses, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that they're maximizing all private sources of funding before we look at providing any level of public assistance. To do that, we're reviewing their financing assumptions, their construction financing and their permanent financing for a project like this. We're looking at what are their assumptions for an amortization, a term, an interest rate on the loan. We're looking at what interest rates are currently at in the market and trying to understand what level of basis point cushion they may be factoring in. We're also taking a look at the amount of equity that they're bringing to the table in relation to the amount of public assistance that's ultimately being provided to the project. We want to make sure that there's more equity being invested in the project than there is the present value amount of the public assistance at the end of the day. We're also taking a look at their various line items for land acquisition, for hard construction costs, their professional service fees, their financing fees, their developer fee, and their reserves and escrow accounts. We're comparing all of those costs against general industry standards for other similar projects like the one that they're proposing here this evening. And then we also take a look at the operating pro forma with the rents. We're looking at CoStar to confirm, yes, they are maximizing the gross potential rent that they could realistically achieve in the market around this community. We're also taking a look at the operating expenses. We're looking at it on a percentage base, but also a per unit basis. And we work directly with the local assessor to understand if this project was constructed and stabilized today. And what I mean by stabilization is if the lease up was at 93, 95% occupancy, what would its estimated value be? What would it be assessed at for valuation purposes? Because then we can use the current rates to understand what property tax amounts would look like, but then we could also project out what is the tax increment that would be generated from this project specifically alone. From there, that's when we look at the return on investment to say, okay, without public assistance, this isn't attractive enough to bring in equity, to bring in lending institutions to want to put their dollars, to put their capital to work in Caledonia. And then we start figuring out what level of public assistance is needed to be able to get to a reasonable return on investment. Knowing that as a developer, they do need to make some level of return here. They do need to make money when it comes to the project, but we don't want that to be too much. We don't want that to be too great. At the end of the day, investors who are going to invest in this project are going to be looking at other asset classes. They're going to be looking at other investments, some more risky than what we're currently proposing here or what F Street is proposing, and some that have less risk if they just want to put their money into the stock market at the end of the day. So really, we're trying to balance what makes this an attractive investment at the end of the day without unduly enriching the developer. And so ultimately, that's what a pro forma analysis is and what it entails. And we also, when we're structuring the TID assistance, we want to make sure that we're cognizant that we mitigate the risk as much as possible to the village. Instead of the village providing upfront assistance here for a project, we're looking at the village providing essentially a reimbursement basis. And we call that and refer to it as a pay-as-you-go structure, where F Street needs to develop the project. It needs to be generating tax increment based on what we're estimating. And ultimately, the property taxes that they're paying, we're generating tax increment off of those dollars over and above the base value today. And so as they pay their property taxes, we'll eventually pay out the tax increment essentially on a rebate, a reimbursement basis annually. So this is an upfront funds to F Street for construction. They could, in theory, take the obligation, the limited obligation that the village is considering to a bank to try and capitalize it for dollars today for construction costs, but that risk would fall to the development entity and not to the village. Meaning if the TID underperforms, if the value is not met, that risk is on the developer. If the TID comes to its maximum term length and ultimately decertifies and closes, that risk is on the developer. We want to make sure that we're mitigating the risk to the village as much as possible, but we also want to make sure that we're achieving the goals of the community, growing the tax base, diversifying the tax base. So understanding all of that in the balancing act related to conducting the performance analysis, but also understanding what level of financial assistance is truly needed to realize the development that is being proposed. So that is a high-level overview of the analysis that we go through and how we've ultimately structured and negotiated this level of public assistance. And I know we'll ultimately be going in closed session to talk a little bit more specific about the numbers and the term sheet that has been prepared, but that is the presentation that I just wanted to overview for you here this evening.
Are we able to ask questions? Pete, can you relay questions? Does anybody have any questions? Any comments?
I have a comment about the whole thing, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
It's related to Keith. Keith, thank you for that. TID increments and that type of thing is a little bit difficult, but I think you explained it very well. I have been a proponent of this development since almost the beginning. I am your only village board member up here that lives on this side of the village. I'm the only village board member, and everybody says, well, I drive past this, I drive past this. I live over here. I live 4 houses, 5 houses down from here. This is a high-level development. This is a market rate development. I don't want to turn this side of the village into Oak Creek. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But what I am trying to do is sustain this side of the village for good shopping, good grocery centers, good places that people want to bring their families to, Crawford Park, where they want to bring their families to, so that my home continues to maintain value and my neighbors are continuously fixing up their homes to maintain the value of the properties over here. This property is already zoned. It's already zoned multifamily. If these developers who are local developers who have been upfront about what they envision in this area and spoken with us and have done the public hearings and have done everything we needed to do, if they cannot develop this, who's going to develop it? A developer that we don't know, a developer that may not ask for help from the village, but that puts in non-market rate apartments. That's not what I want to see for this side of the village. I want to see high-end quality living for our residents. I want to see the $120,000 in park impact fees come out of that development and go back into this side of the village. And when I say we don't treat our developments fairly, we don't, because it depends on where you want to develop and it depends on who lives in that area. This is my area. This is my side of the village. My kids go to public schools. My law enforcement partners are right down the street. Our cops want to be here. Our firefighters want to be here. Your public officials want to be here. We need to be able to provide quality housing on this side of the village that aligns with the view for this side of the village. You want to see Pick and Save fixed up or Green Tree Plaza? That is not going to happen unless we bring quality developments to this side of the village. And that goes with the water's edge, which is why we are slowing down, which is why we're trying to figure things out. But we have a beautiful development right in front of us. And when you talk about traffic, and I brought up 4 Mile traffic more than once, I'm concerned with it. We did the traffic study, and this developer is going above and beyond what was recommended in the traffic study to help ensure that that intersection is safer than it is now. And so I am putting this out there, I'm putting it on the record that if this development fails, we are failing this side of the village. And we are going to have a hard time finding a developer that does not come forward and wants to deal with trying to develop over here. You see this development go in, you're going to start to see better properties on Douglas Avenue. You're going to start to see businesses that want to be part of these rooftops. And so I need that to be out there, because if this fails, it's not because I voted no against it.
Thank you, Holly. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a brief comment. One is that the devil is in the details, and it's all very well to say this is something wonderful without going into the details, and that's something that we need to address, and we will address in closed session. But also, I want to say that all of us are elected village-wide. Village-wide. 4 of us were just elected, 3 of us re-elected, and 1 elected. Village-wide, and the votes were across the board. This isn't a regional area that we're not voted on, and we don't represent. And I don't think of myself as representing one area and not another area. I think of myself as representing the Water's Edge people, the people who live here. Not this. I do not think this board should be looking at ourselves as representing particular areas. We represent the entire village, and I want that to be clear.
Thank you, Fran. Anybody else?
Yeah,
Nancy?
I hear a lot of what Holly says when we look at what we're trying to do that is for the village as a whole. I think what Fran has said also, when you say the devil is in the details, the devil is in the finances. The other challenge we have as trustees is to look at the financial implications to the village long-term and understand what those are. Yes, we'll go into closed session, we'll get into that, but I think there's a balance between what looks like a good project, looks like a good developer, and what the details actually will play out with. And I will have to agree, I no longer live on this side of town, but what happens over here is as important to me as what happens where I live.
Okay. Seeing no one else, we'll move into a closed session. Village Board will take up a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 19.85 1E Wisconsin statutes, deliberating and negotiating purchasing of public properties, investing public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss the development agreement with F Street Caledonia LLC for the multifamily development on the southeast corner of North Green Bay Road and 4 Mile Road located in tax incremental district number 6. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll move to go into closed session.
I'll second.
A roll call vote, please.
Mr. President, right before the vote, I'd just like to say a couple prefatory comments, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
As the agenda indicates, the reason the board has made a motion to go into closed session is for competitive and bargaining reasons. We have a revised term sheet that we need to present to the board for the board's direction from a negotiation strategy with the developer on the developer's ask. We're planning to hear additional information from Keith Dahl from Ellers, as well as Harry Allen from Ellers as well, to go over the financial information that has implication on those terms. So I just wanted to say that for the benefit of the public, that we're still negotiating with the developer, which is the reason we need the closed session today.
Thank you. Roll call. Yeah. It isn't.
Yes.
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 We are in closed session. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're open. Do you like those?
I do.
Yeah? The hearing a lot better, or is it a?
Yes, because what I couldn't hear before was if somebody was standing there, sometimes the microphone, or like on that.
Yeah.
That was very hard.
Oh,
You could,
I can hear it. I can hear it. I didn't wear them.
Okay, well, take your glasses. I mean, it's my prescription.
Looks like you're blind.
Okay, can you hear me better?
So Brittany has the audio. She'll manage putting
Are we back on?
it back.
Welcome back.
Was it a party out there?
It sounded like it for a while there. Okay,
President, I'll make a motion to approve resolution
Wait,
20,
he needs to read the agenda item first.
the agenda item.
1 second. All right, so, resolution 2026-52, approving authorizing the village of Caledonia to enter into a development agreement with F Street Caledonia LLC and tax incremental district number 6. Holly,
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-052.
and I will second that motion. Open for discussion. Who would like to? Yes, ma'am.
Should have asked this before we left the closed session, but in terms of what that development agreement would include as the base terms, we need to clarify what it is that you're
Right.
proposing to be approved. So
So as
we had-
proposed,
we had proposed terms that would be incorporated into a development agreement. And for clarity, I think we'd need to review what those would be in open session, so you know what it is that you're voting on. So,
how do we do that?
Why?
I think we know. You went
We
over it at the
know,
podium.
went over 'em.
Do you want that on the record, though? Is that what you're asking for?
yes,
So can you
yes,
go
what
over
it
it
would be.
on the-
So,
We'll
yes,
go over it again.
we do need to review those. So if the board is in agreement, we would review what those proposed terms would be to include in the development agreement that you now have a motion, a first and second to approve.
Can't she make those terms as part of her motion?
She
It's
could.
a little hard.
Can you just stand up at the podium and go over what you went over before we went into open session? Those points on the record? You're much more eloquently spoken to these matters.
I think for purposes of the record, by consensus, I would ask that the board as a whole, if you're in agreement, that I share this information now, so for clarity of your, of what the motion indicates.
Yes,
Rick, we're not approving what you're saying. We're just saying. think
You're
we all
telling us
agree.
what we're voting on.
Yes, okay, all right. So the proposed terms that would be included in the development agreement would be for the multifamily apartment consistent with the approved zoning, the proposed 5 buildings for 130 units total. There would be a guaranteed minimum equalized value by the developer of $20 million, comprised of a schedule that includes by January 1st of 27, $5 million, and by January 1st of 28, $20 million. There would be retained tax increment and PAYGO incentive requests where the village would retain the first roughly $1 million of the tax increment generated from the development, or would retain the first $1 million of the tax increment generated from the development before there's any share of that increment with the developer. Thereafter, the developer would receive PAYGO at 95% of the available tax increment for the following 14 years. That's the equivalent of roughly a municipal revenue obligation of $2.4 million. That represents approximately 10% of the construction budget. This MRO would be issued with an interest of 5.75%, or the actual rate of financing on the permanent first mortgage, with interest being calculated as simple non-compounding interest. The MRO would be issued upon the developer becoming eligible to receive the certificate of completion. The MRO of $2.4 million would be prepaid by the village, could be prepaid by the village at any time. Administrative costs would be retained by the village of $25,000 in the initial year of the tax increment for administrative costs. So that bucket would be roughly $1 million $1,025,000. The agreement would contain look-back provisions for the completion of construction look-back and stabilization look-back, which would occur the earlier of the date of the project achieves stabilization, defined as 93% occupancy for 3 consecutive months, or 3 years after the date of completion, as evidenced by the village's issuance of a certificate of completion. There would be additional developer commitments and obligations, including shortfall payment if the guaranteed minimum assessed or equalized value is not established. And there would be deadlines, of course, for submission of plans. The developer would be responsible to reimburse the village for expenses, much like the pre-development agreement rolls into the development agreement as well. Those are essentially the base terms that would be included in that development agreement. So that's what's proposed at this time. And that is now what was motioned first and second just a few moments ago.
Thank you.
Are there any questions the board has about the statement of what those base terms and conditions?
No, I think I agree that you stated them correctly.
I think in that way, yes, it's covered.
Okay.
But now we're open to.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is, we're gonna open this, first of all, I want a roll call vote. I'll just go right down the table. Holly, do you have any last comments?
Comments? No, I think I made them earlier.
Mr. Prescott?
No.
Fran?
No further comments.
Mike? No. Nancy?
I'm thinking.
You're thinking?
We're not going to come public with what we already discussed, but we did have a vigorous discussion, so no.
Okay. Mr. Wishaw? I have one last comment, and then we'll go directly to the vote. I personally feel that a no vote on this is not only a no on this development, it's a no on the houses to the south, and it's a definite no to any positive development with the old Kmart. So I'm gonna start out.
I do have a comment, Tom, now that you made that comment, because I want to clear that I do not agree with that.
I said it's my thoughts. Go ahead.
Those are mine.
Are you off again?
Yeah.
The motion on the table is to accept this development agreement as stated.
Correct.
Yes.
President Weatherston,
Yes.
Trustee Balch,
No.
Trustee Lambert,
Yes.
Trustee Martin,
No,
Trustee McManus,
not
Yes.
as currently constituted.
Yes.
Trustee Pierce,
No.
Trustee Wishaw.
Motion fails. Thank you.
Can I add a comment?
We're
No.
moving on to ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 2026-62, approving a master sign plan allowing the installation of 2 permanent wall signs for the industrial building located at 4321 Carroll Road, Village of Caledonia, Racine County. Justin Sylvia is the applicant. Can I have a motion on this item, please? This went through
I'll
the
make a
planning board.
motion to adopt resolution 2026-062.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
I'm sorry, who said the second?
Me.
Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution 2026-63, approving a request for conditional use permit to operate a vehicle sales business with residential quarters located at parcel 6106 Douglas Avenue. Jeff Holtz, LLC owner. This also went through the planning commission with a 5-0 vote. Can I have a motion, please?
I move to approve, and I think it's subject to a lot of conditions.
It is. Fran, and I got a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion on this item, on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution carries. Resolution 2026-64, authorizing the Village of Caledonia to apply for and accept FEMA's Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program for the purchase of fire department turnout gear. Can I have
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2026-064.
Thank you,
Second.
Mike. Was that Nancy?
Yep.
Any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution 2026-65, resolution declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing, Central attenuation basin. This is from Mr. Bunkelman, of course. A motion on this, please?
I'll move to approve resolution 2026-065, and I'm going to ask Tony to explain it just briefly.
Let me
I'll
get a-
second.
Who was that out?
Nancy.
Nancy?
Nancy.
For costs that they've already spent on the project, such as design and for sole source purchasing. This project is, as you may recall, we are going for a Clean Water Fund loan. And that loan we have to apply for. Have to apply by the end of this month. And then if approved, the funds do not become available until December of 2026. So this resolution allows us to reimburse ourselves for those costs we've already spent.
Thanks, Tony.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion, the resolution carries. Resolution 2026-64, resolution declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing Harborview subdivision water main.
Make a
Move to
motion to
approve.
adopt resolution 2026-064.
Okay, you want to second it, Fran?
Sure.
Fran, second it. Okay, any discussion on this item? Something wrong?
Typo on the number of the resolution.
Oh, the number's wrong?
66.
What is the correct number?
66.
So the correct number is 66?
Yep.
Thank you for correcting us,
Ah,
Madam
there
Clerk.
it is.
Oh,
Still have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. New business, approval AP checks. Mr. Wishaw, if you would, please.
Mr. President, I move to approve AP checks totaling $1,239,499.70.
Can I have a second on that, please?
Second.
20, everybody said second, so I guess we're gonna approve it.
I didn't hear the second.
I think it was Mike.
Mike was
Yep.
first, I think. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Checks are paid. Mr. Wishaw, bank credit card.
Mr. President, I move to approve credit card checks, credit card billings in the amount of $62,706.17.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're paying the bank credit card. Approval of 2026 alcohol license renewals. I think there was a list of them, was there not? Can I have a motion on this item, please?
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to the clerk's approval of the 2026 alcohol license renewals.
Thank you, Nance. Can I have a second?
Second.
Take your choice.
Whoever said these.
How many of you said second?
Many retired from the field.
Okay. I'll give it to Mike anyways. Now, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
What was that?
Abstain
One abstain.
from the
Abstain.
vote
Yeah.
on liquor licenses.
All right, fine. Be that way. 8D we did, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving
No
on,
closed session.
yeah, moving on to 9, is also a closed session. The village board will take up a motion to go into closed session pursuant to 19.851E Wisconsin statutes, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss redevelopment proposals and parameters of Water's Edge development parcels located at 5915 and 5919, 5945 Erie Street within tax district number 5, and
Can you simply adopt that language by
yeah, I'm
reference?
gonna just, and the same
Adopt
thing,
paragraph 2 by reference.
and specifically to discuss a notice of potential material change of circumstances from the city of Racine under Racine Area Intergovernmental Sanitary Sewer Service Revenue Sharing Cooperation and Settlement Agreement dated April 25, 2002. Administration, interpretation, and enforcement thereof, land acquisition, facilities planning under the agreement, and invoices received for revenue sharing recalculations under this agreement. I have a motion to go in close.
Move to go into close.
Second,
Second.
Roll call, please.
President Weatherston,
Yes.
Trustee Balch,
Yes.
Trustee Lambert.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee McManus.
Yep.
Trustee Pierce.
Yes.
Trustee Wishaw.
We are in closed session. Committee of the whole? We did adjourn one. Moving to. Already adjourned.
I'll make a
To
motion.
do what?
To the sewer agreement?
Oh,
We don't remember that.
yeah. What would the suggested motion be, Elaine?
I remember.
Elaine, give us some wording.
Yes, please.
So, a recommended motion out of closed session related to the sewer, the invoices that the village received, from the city for 2023, 2024, 2025 revenue sharing payments that
I'm so done with this bullshit.
motion to approve the payment of the 2023 revenue sharing recalculation, 2024 revenue sharing recalculation, and 2025 revenue sharing recalculation be approved with the payments for 2023 and 2024 being made but disputed.
Condensed version.
I'll make a motion to approve what our attorney just recommended regarding the sewer agreements.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We are adjourned. Moving on into committee of the whole. Are you ready?
Planning to cancel it?
Well,
We should give people a public comment opportunity if they want it.
And then can we adjourn the rest of the meeting till the following?
can.
No public comment?
So we're gonna open the meeting with roll call, please.
Listen for your name. He's right there.
President Weatherston.
Still here.
Trustee Balch.
Here.
Trustee Lambert.
Here.
Trustee Martin is excused. Trustee McManus.
Yep.
Trustee Pierce.
Here.
Trustee Wishaw.
Approval of the minutes from committee of the whole, June 2nd.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 2nd.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public comment, provide 2-minute opportunity for citizens to voice opinions, committee of the whole. Committee of the whole cannot respond as it may conflict with open meeting requirements. Hi. Come on up.
I'm Wendy Johnson, 825 Waters Edge Road. Thank you for the opportunity to continue my comments. I want to thank the committee as a whole and the village board for the opportunity to continue my conversation regarding Waters Edge property. Several months ago, I was invited to a meeting by the the village administrator for an informational public meeting regarding the Waters Edge property. And during that time, he shared information about the project at hand. And it became very obvious that there were already, he commented and told us that there were already current proposals to be considered. And it became very obvious that they were all generally similar in nature, focused on high-density condominium or apartment-style development. And while that outcome may not be surprising, given the process used to solicit proposals, it does raise important questions about whether the range of options presented truly reflects broader community interests. It is my understanding that these proposals were sourced through the village administrator's network of contacts, and that approach can naturally limit the diversity of ideas and developers involved, which may explain why the scale and concept of proposals could be similar. What also remains a concern is the absence of an independent market study or analysis regarding both the value of the property and demand for this type of development at the proposed density and price points. And without that information, it's going to be very difficult for the board to fully evaluate whether the proposals reflect actual market demand, long-term sustainability, or are primarily developer-driven interests. It's also important to recognize that the previous development effort on this same property focused on multiple family or higher density housing and ultimately failed. That history raises another question about what has changed and whether the underlying challenges that led to the failure have truly been addressed. There has not been a clear public explanation of why that prior effort was unsuccessful or what lessons were learned from it. And as expected, taxpayers cannot afford another costly failure on this property. Beyond the development concept itself, the decision must also account for the long-term fiscal risks to the village. This includes infrastructure demands, ongoing maintenance, public service impacts, and potential financial exposure if projected revenues do not materialize as expected. I want to be very clear, I'm not opposed to development. The concern is not whether the property should be developed, but whether the process ensures that the right type of development supported by data, transparency, fiscal responsibility, and alignment with community expectations. Given the significance of this property, I respectfully request that the Village commission an independent market study and valuation analysis to assess both the property's fair market value and realistic demand scenarios before moving forward with any final decisions. This is a unique lakefront property, and the decisions made here will have long-term impacts on the village. I would respectfully ask the board to ensure that any next steps are grounded in clear, independent analysis, full transparency, a full understanding of prior outcomes, and a complete evaluation of fiscal impacts. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The land is for sale if you'd like to put an offer in on it. Okay.
How much?
7 million. Oh, okay. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we lay over all other items till our
There's
next
only
meeting.
one item on the agenda, really. You really want to lay over?
If you want to skip the committee updates and go to the one.
We have a committee updates and one item.
I
I
put a
second her
on the
motion.
floor.
Okay, well, there's a motion.
I
Is there a
second.
on that motion?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. That was easy.